Alrighty, let me adjust this real quick. And up, there we go. Now that we're ready to start here, let's get our presentation going. Good day, everyone. This is Jason Straight with the Pass Cloud Virtual Group. We're here today with Monitor Azure SQL Databases with Jean Joseph, and he's going to be presenting on this topic. Before we get to that point, though, let's just go through a few announcements. So the first announcement is this virtual group is sponsored by Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure sponsors us because it kind of goes really good with what they have to offer. Most of what we will see here in this cloud virtual group actually does relate to the Azure offerings, and Microsoft wants to help making sure people are educated on what's available and out there for them to use. Let's see. Hit the wrong enter button there. All right. If you are not yet a member of the virtual group, I do recommend becoming one. You can do so by going out to the pass.cloud.org website, and out there is a link where you can join in, you can log in, you subscribe, and the main thing that you get out of all of that is a newsletter every week or so that tells you about all the upcoming sessions. We still have 27, I think, scheduled over the next few months, so there's plenty of opportunities to learn. But that's the best place to go and find out about what's coming up. As far as upcoming sessions go, just to take a sneak peek at some of the ones that are coming up here, we've got sessions on Snowflake, we've got sessions on doing your different deployment options, Azure SQL Hyperscale, so lots of different things that are coming up in the pipeline. This is only a small, maybe about half of the upcoming sessions that's listed on the screen there. So there's lots of different opportunities there. That said, we are still looking for more presenters. Trying to fill out the schedule through May of 2021. That's quite a ways out there, but there are lots of opportunities, and it's a good thing to get the people on the schedule ahead of time so that you can know about sessions that are upcoming. So if you are interested in presenting, you can go out to the virtual page, the Cloud Virtual Group page, and out there sign up for presenting. Additionally, if you just send me an email at cloud@pass.org, we can work through getting you registered or set up to present as well. This fall is Pass Summit 2020. It's a virtual summit this year, and if you have not registered and are planning to register, you can get $50 off of your registration by using the discount code for our virtual group. This virtual group part is similar to a lot of other virtual groups that Pass helps to put together. Some of them focus on different languages and cultures, such as Global Chinese and Global Hebrew. Others focus on different aspects of the data platform, like data science and virtualization. So there's lots of different areas where you can learn about if everything that you're doing doesn't happen to touch into cloud and you want to touch into other areas and learn more about building data platforms that way. And throughout the session, I expect some of you will have some questions. If you do, please type them into the question panel. And at the end of the session, time permitting, we'll go through as many of those as we can. And with that, those are all of the announcements that we have. And now I'm going to hand things over today to our presenter for Monitor Azure SQL Databases. Let's see here. Let me make it. There we go. Turn off my camera. All right, here you go. You are ready to present, and I can see your PowerPoint. So I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you, everyone, for joining this virtual chapter today. As Jason already gave a good introduction, but you guys already know the topic that I will cover with you today. It is Monitor Azure SQL Database. By the way, I am Jean-Joseph, currently located in New Jersey, originally from Haiti. I've been in IT technology field for over 18 years. I started as a network administrator. Then I moved to database administration and development. After that, I moved to data engineering. I'm currently working as a data engineer. This is my blog, bigdatadriven.org. You guys are free to go there and then enjoy my blogs, right? Yeah, also, if you have any specific topic you want me to discuss or blog about, feel free to email me at jjoseph@bigdatadriven.org. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Garia79, and this is my code over here, right? You can scan it and then let's connect it together. Why not? This is enough about me. As you already know, our agenda is this is it. I will give you a basic introduction to Azure SQL Database, because if we have to monitor database in Azure, right, we have to know, for especially anything related to SQL Server, there are at least three kind of services which I will cover with you. And then why you need to monitor Azure SQL Database. Then I will deep dive into Azure Monitor and also demo. That's it, right? As you already know, as we have to monitor our database, what is exactly Azure SQL Database? Azure SQL Database is a database as a service offered by Azure, by Microsoft Azure, that enables you to implement a SQL database without worrying about software or hardware installation. And you guys know, as DBA, we have to make sure we have our environment running on the latest service pack, cumulative update, security update, hotfix, even Windows. And we have to make sure the hardware is good for our workload. With Azure SQL Database, Microsoft Azure maintain the whole thing for you. All you have to maintain is your data, your security, right, and your disaster recovery strategy. These are the things that will rely on you, but still, there are features that will help you implement them, and very cheap as well. Not only that, Azure SQL Database come with a lot of key features, right? Like long-term backup retention that allow you to store backup up to 10 years. It's provide also geo replication of data for disaster recovery that will allow you to prevent data loss. And you know how expensive this can be. Now, even though if we are in America, it is easy with Azure SQL Database to have a disaster recovery located in Europe, Asia, Africa, right? And then it is very cheap, right? But doing something like that on premises would require a lot of money and also a lot of preparations as well. So with the help of Azure SQL Database, they make that very easy for you. It also provides you automated performance tuning feature that will help you to be very proactive. And I will cover that in the demo as well. Not only that, it is provide high availability that reduce concern for service disruptions when it comes to business continuity. And you guys, if you are a DBA architect, or for example, even a sysadmin, you know how expensive this can be and complex as well, right? You have to well plan to implement something like that. It offers also scalability that will help you reduce costs and ensure that resources match data needs. It provides you ways to automate backup that simplify data recovery. And then it is available in 3 different deployment models. The first one is a single database. A single database deployed to an Azure SQL VM, to an Azure VM, and managed with a SQL database server. This is the most basic model, right? And then it is self-managed, like Microsoft maintain the whole thing for you. The second thing is Elastic Pool. What is Elastic Pool? Elastic Pool allow you to group a lot of database together to share pool resources, right? Let's say if you have a database, an application like it's all over the place. So you do have database in Europe, Asia, and America, North America, right? So if you, for example, because of the time difference, you see during US time, Europe time, there's not sit there, the resources you allocated to that database sit there doing nothing. And then during Asia time, right, it's not US time. So what you can do, you can have a baseline and understand the pattern and then create an elastic group and have them share those resources together. That's very helpful when it comes to performance and cost saving as well. There is one of services Azure provide, which I really like, especially if your application require instance features, right? The above one, Elastic Pool and single database, these are like a container as a service. So meaning there's no instance features. If your application require instance features, Microsoft Azure provide a service called Managed Instance, which is fully managed by Azure as well. It is designed to enable easy migration on premises and SQL database. It provides 2 types of compute models. One of them is provisions, right? Where your database use Azure resources dedicated to Azure SQL services. And then it provides serverless. Your database is operated as a serverless component. You can auto-scale your compute volume and their bill per second. Not only that, you can even stop that service because the compute and the storage are decoupled, right? So this is in general what we can say, what we can consider as Azure SQL Database, and also the pricing model, which come with DTU and vCore as well. But our agenda for today is how can we monitor that, not really, for example, SQL database, right? So as we know, for example, what is Azure SQL database, and then we also know as administrator, we need to come up with a plan to administrate our environment, right? You don't want when things happen, that's the time you're gonna plan. That's the beauty of migrating your infrastructure to Azure, because they help you maintain your environment. And when it comes to disaster recovery, they make it very easy, right? So you have to understand, for example, your application, understand, for example, without a baseline, there's a lot of things you cannot do, right? You cannot predict the growth of the database, the resources that needed. This is where, for example, Azure Monitor comes in play. Okay, so what is Azure Monitor? Azure Monitor help you centralize your on-prem infrastructure, or even cloud, if you will, into one single source of truth, right? It is provide you, for example, it comes with full stack diagnostic visibility. What I mean by it's allow you to view your application, your infrastructure, and network with analytic dashboard and visualization maps. That visibility allow you to see exactly what have been done against your environment, who log into your environment, what they did, the type of query, and then it's allow you to pinpoint performance metrics, right? For example, what query taking most resources. It provides you that same full stack diagnostic visibility, allow you to see the health of your environment, the availability, right? And then it has intelligent insight, which is a feature. If you guys use it before, I'm pretty sure you guys love it. It's allow you to analyze, correlate, and monitor data with anomaly detection and predictive analytics. Not only when it comes to proactive optimization, right? It provides you ways to identify where your application need improvement, need to be tuned, right? What caused your application to be slow, running very slow, right? And then it is open ecosystem. What I mean by right out of the box, you can integrate your Azure resources with your with your DevOps, issue management, ITSM, and CM tools. In general, this is exactly what Azure Monitor is, right? But what is the capability? Why do we have to? How can we understand the architecture behind Azure Monitor, right? Let's put it this way. Let's consider this as your environment, as your application, operating system, Azure resources, Azure subscriptions, Azure tenant, even custom resources, right? When we're looking at Azure, Azure come into two types of telemetry. One is matrix, and the other one is logs. Matrix are numbers, like the average CPU utilization, DTU percentage usage, like the number of IOPS, like these are metrics. Anything kind of numbers, any numbers, Azure treated as a matrix. Logs are strings, anything that have a structure, like your application logs, right? Or if you will, your whole infrastructure logs or data, right? So anything related to information like string, these are logs, right? But within these two type of telemetrics, there's a tons of feature and application Microsoft Azure offer that will allow you to be on top of your infrastructure. The first one is application insight. Application insight gets your telemetric data from your application to see response time, request rate, find performance pinpoint within your application, see the execution of times, right? And then get page view. Not only that, it provides you all kind of exception, right? You can see exception like call Ajax. You can understand user and session count, performance counter, host diagnostic trace log, even custom event and matrix. When it these are the things application inside, allow you to maintain your for example, application, your container, your VM, your monitoring solutions. This is a great tools, right? And then with this tool, there's a lot more you can do when it comes to troubleshooting. And if you have to integrate this with your application, it's just a snippet, it's required. Also, once an application inside collected those information, the data, right? There is a feature called visualize. Visualization allow you to visualize those information, the telemetric data, either the numerical, what we call matrix or the log, and then understand them, view them, right? You can even create custom custom dashboard, right? And then it has Power BI built in. And there's also workbooks. Visualization is another great tools that will help you understand the data application inside collected. Not only that, you can analyze it. Once you analyze it, there are tools available for you like Matrix Explorer, Log Analytics. Once you analyze it, and then doing live, even doing near real time, when those logs being generated, you can trigger alerts, and with that alerts, you can even take action, like run on auto scale, right? Like auto scale your application infrastructure, right? And then also you can integrate this. It is built, that integration allow you to use Event Hubs, sorry, that I will demo with you. Logic app, which is one of my favorite tools, ingest and export API. So in general, this is exactly what you get from Azure. This is what, on top of that, there's a tons of other information. So once you Google Azure Monitor capability, you will find tons of other information. And this is a great tool. And it's not only for cloud infrastructure, it is capable also to maintain your on-prem data center, right? This is also, I'm going to the demo part. I'm not sure, Jason, if someone wanna ask any question before I go to the demo part.
There are no questions in the queue at this point.
Perfect. Thank you, Jason. My session probably, okay, it's there, perfect. So now I already created a database. Let me go to resources. I already set up the environment. As a DBA, we normally have most likely everything to be configured at the instance level. However, because in Azure, the server is a logical container, there's not much you can do. For some reason, it is going very slow. Right, let me show you. This is a virtual chapter demo. Right, for some reason, it is going very slow. So if I click on the server, as you can see, the type is server. The difference that I want you to see is that if you want to implement any administration at the server level and you want to be very proactive, there's not much you can do unless if you come by diagnostic log with auditing. For example, what I mean by, if I go to, let's say, if I want to create alert at the server level, the monitoring is, there's not much that I can do. The only thing that I can say is the log. However, if I click on the database, right? This is the database that I already pre-configured for this session. For some reason, it is running kind of slow. If we go to monitoring part, you will see there's a lot more options, right? The first thing as a DBA or cloud architect, let's say, or any data architect, if you are engineering, if you are maintaining your environment, is to be proactive. When things go wrong, you need to be alerted, right? But in Azure SQL Database, before you create any alert, you have to create an action group. So what I mean by the action group is the one that will tell, for example, where to send the alert when the alert being triggered. But that action group happen to be under manage actions. Let's say if we have to create an alert where we will need to know if CPU utilization go above 80%, we have to be notified. The first thing you have to do is to create an action group. The action group, once you click on manage action options, right, and then you click on action group, it is launching. You have to specify this is your subscription. You have to select the subscription that you want to create or launch your action group. You select the resource group, you give it a name. Let's give it a name, for example, testing, because I already created one. I just want to walk you to the way we can create it. And then once we click on notification, the notification is what will tell you exactly what to do, what exactly we want to do. Give me a second. Do we want to email Azure Resource Manager role, or do we want to send it to send us email, or do we want, for example, to text us? We can or push voice, right? Let's give it my name, for example. Let's say if we want to email this to dev team, okay. For some reason, this is running very slow. Let's say if we wanted to email it to dev team, we're gonna, here is the option, for example, what to do. Do we have to use email? Do we have to use phone number? Or do we have to use Azure apps and push notification? I'm not sure people using this again anymore, but this, you can use it, right? But in our case, let's say, for example, if I want to email it to me myself, I can quickly type this. But in your case, this will be, for example, your group name, like dev team at your company name. For example, at bigdata-driven.org. So once, for example, I say, okay, it will go and save this. So once you have your action group ready, and then you also have the, let me say, okay to this, so this way I can walk you to this. So once you say, okay, you also have the type of actions you can perform, correct? So one, you can use automation runbook. You can use Azure Functions, ITSM, Logic App, CQ, Webhook, and Webhook. So these, you can Google it and then or do your own research, because of the of the demo and my system is running slow, I'm gonna kind of skip this, but you guys can try it me out. So when the alert trigger, there's other stuff that you can do as well. So I already create this, right? And then you can tag it as well. So once the action group is created, so that's the time you can go ahead and set up your alert. In order for you to set up your alert, you have to click on New Alert Rule. Once you click on New Alert Rule, for some reason, this is launching this is getting slow. Right. So now, what will you do? You will need to select the conditions. The condition is exactly what you want to achieve. For example, when I click on conditions, it will give me all the available solutions. For example, I can create it on block it by firewall, failed connection, successful connection, CPU percentage, DTU. When we're looking at DTU percentage, this is a great matrix that can help you understand your environment. What I mean by this one will help you to understand either if you over provision your environment or if you are under provision your environment. So what I like to do, I like to keep this, for example, create two type of the same matrix. One is when the DTU percentage is like 90%, or when the DTU percentage is like 30, less than 30%. Because the thing is, I want to size my Azure SQL database with the right DTU if this is the model that I'm using, if it's not vCore. And if this is vCore also, the CPU percentage can help you, because sometimes you provision it. Once you provision it, guess what happened? If you over provision it and then you don't monitor it, it would be hard, for example, to see, do you have to downgrade the size or do you have to upgrade it, right? Provision more or reduce of the current configuration. Like DTU use, these are the options that you can create: log IO percentage, SQL Server processes, process core percentage, right? However, once you select what you need, and then you say, as soon as I select this one, for example, block it by firewall, guess what happened? I will have to give it a name. Give me a second. I will have to provide this information. There is static and dynamic, and I need to know the kind of operator. Does it have to be greater than, greater or equal to, less than or equal to, or less than? This is, let's say, if I want this to be greater than or equal to, right? And I want the count to be 1, right? And then I also need to provide the interval, right? Let's say if I want it to be every minute, as soon as I say done, it will go and create this. We already have this, and I'm gonna demo it as well. So very soon, right? So guess what happened? It will go and create it. So once you create it, right? But here's the thing, there is a caveat. You may set up your alert, and then you're waiting for that alert to be triggered. It's not triggered. Always make sure that you are creating it under the right database, because at the instance level, because it is a container, a logical container, it's hard for us to maintain that, right? So what I want you to understand, if you want to test it as well, once you create it, make sure when you're connecting to the data to Azure, right, SQL database, you are trying to connect under the right database. What I mean by, let me bring SSMS. For example, let's say if I have to connect, I'm gonna go to options. I will go to options, and then make sure, for example, I type my database here. I type it here, as you can see. Otherwise, if you want to test your alert, it may not trigger. So these are the things that I was facing, and I want you guys to be aware of this, right? So once you say done, that's it. However, doing those log, if you guys pay attention, give me a second. If I go back to the signal selection, there's no blocking session, right? There's no blocking session. So if you want to get more information, right, like the blocking, when the deadlock occur, you want to email it, you want to email the graph, there's ways we can do that, right? We can merge this alert, and then we can use diagnostic setting, and then have that diagnostic setting set up on the Event Hub or Log Analytic, and then we can have, for example, let me show you what I mean by. So if I need to know more details or the option that I want to set up alert and I want to take action, I already see alert won't be able to give me what I need, right? Let's say if I want to track when there is a blocking, right? If there's a blocking more than 5 minutes, I want to be aware of that, because that can cause performance issue, right? Here, we're not able. So even if I go to the next page, as you can see, you won't see it. In order for you to be able to set up something like that, you have to go to, give me a second, we have to go to diagnostic setting. Let me go back to that database. I'm fine with that. So once I go to diagnostic setting, it is very slow. These are all the actions that are available for me, right? If I say, okay, this is I want to add the diagnostic setting, right? I can have it with SQL inside, automatic tuning, query store runtime statistic, query store wait time, wait statistic error, any error occur on your database, right? Database wait statistic, timeout. I have blocking here. I have deadlock. The good thing is, if you need to archive it, you can archive it. If you need to send that data to Log Analytic, this is where you will be able to send it to Log Analytic, right? And then if you want to stream that data to an Event Hub, you are able to do that now as well. And then if you want to go very complex, right, you can even use Logic app to do things that is kind of limited to Azure Monitor, because you can integrate that with Azure Monitor. For example, one thing you will need to know, if you already have one configured, right? Let's say if I select everything here and I want to send it to archive storage, it will require me to provide, let me show you, hold on, it is kind of very slow. You will need to provide the retention. However, if I'm sending it to Log Analytic, give me a second, there will be no retention. The only thing is you will need to create a workspace for your Log Analytic. How can you create that workspace, right? In order for you to create that workspace, you will need to click on all services. Okay, you say Log Analytic. You type Log Analytic. For some reason, I'm sorry guys, my system is very slow. and I have some of live tests to do. It is very slow. Give me 1 second. Okay. Log analytic. Yep. This is the log analytic, correct? Okay. You will need to create a workspace. To create the workspace, all you have to do is to add, click on add. For some reason, my system is very slow today. After this, I'm gonna have to skip some of them. The thing is, I just want to give you the overview conception of Azure Monitor because it's a great tool, but the system is giving me kind of technical issue. You will need to select your resource group where you want it to be. Let's say if I select this resource group, virtual chapter demo, and I give it A&M testing, for example, and I said, okay, create for this one. You don't have to worry about this because I'm using pay as you go, right? You can tag it and then you can click review. You create it. So once you create it, you will have to go back. Once you go back, that's when you're gonna have to think of sending it to log analytic. If you don't have a workspace, there's no way for you. You will be able to send it to log analytic because it will ask you to create it, by the way. Right. Okay, perfect. So now, right, so once I click here, as I just showed you, that's when you will have to select it. But we talk about alert. Diagnostic matrix is something like I just explained to you, is something that gives you access to analyze your data and then see it. See, for example, what where your performance endpoint are for, and also I will show you performance insight after that. The system. Just give me a second. The system is running very slow. Okay. With the matrix, you will be able to analyze your log analytic. You can see, for example, all kind of matrix available, right? You can read it, you can understand it, you can do all kind of analysis, and then it will help you to troubleshoot, right? I'm seeing the time and the system is very slow. Let me go. There is let me go to the database now. Give me a second. Let me go to the database because the system is kind of okay, perfect. Let me go to this one. Right. Sorry about that, guys. My system is very slow. Okay, perfect. If we're looking at intelligent performance is a great tools that allow you, for example, like the query performance, it allow you, for example, to visualize your query and then see, for example, what query need to be improved or tuned, right? For example, it's giving you a graphical interface. Like unfortunately, I have some live demo to show you, but the system is kind of very slow, and I'm kind of, as you can see, I can clearly see the spark. I can see, for example, I can check it at the data IO level. I can check it at the log IO level, right? Not only that, I can click me on it and see, for example, what was the query, what is the query, right? Right? I can take a look at the query, I can analyze it, I can try to understand it. It gives you all the visibility, like I just mentioned earlier. Right. I'm seeing the time, and I have to give you guys time also to ask questions. Let me quickly explain to you what I was about to do. For example, I already created some alerts, right? So those alerts, for example, let me, and I have this one open. Let me see, let's see if I can demo this one. Give me a second. Let's say if you want to know when a deadlock occur, you want to be notified, right? You can create an alert. If I click on manage alert, you will see that I already created a couple alerts, right? When a deadlock may occur, hacking attempt, high CPU spike, high DTU utilization, right? You can create it based on your, how sensitive is your data. You can even create when there is a connection successfully occur to your database. You can create an error, right? For example, let's say if I wanna, for the deadlock, it will take time. I think we have close to 10 minutes left. Let me quickly show you. For once you collect those data, right, you log analytics give you ways to analyze them. I have a couple query for you. Where is my demo queries? Yeah, but let me go to this one. This will take time as well because I prepared this. Let me go to that log. You can analyze that data as well if you click on logs. Once you click on logs, it will give you access to select the scope of your log analytic workspace to analyze your data. Right? Let's say if I want to go to Azure Diagnostic, you also have predefined, let me show you what I mean by, once you click, you also have a lot of template if you want to do your own analysis. Let's say if I click here and I want to know only error, right? So I can click here. If you, these are the story, whatever script that I was running before. Let me, if I want to click the same thing, right? Before the demo, unfortunately, I don't think this might take sometimes. Give me a second. This might take sometimes, right? But thank God. So these are all the, like, I can see the error, the kind of error. Unfortunately, I don't have time to do it live because the system is very slow. As you can see, I can see all kind of transaction because I sent the data to Log Analytic, and then after that, I can use Log Analytic queries to go and analyze that data. Jason, I'm not sure, for example, because the system is very slow, I want to give, you know, I already went over the capability of Azure monitoring for SQL database, right? And
Yep.
I'm not sure if there is many questions. Are there any questions?
There are not any questions yet, but if folks do have questions, now's a good time to get them in, and we can present them to Jean.
In the meantime, let me quickly see if I can demo the deadlock one. So let's say, for example, as you can see here, I have no emails related to deadlocks, right? This is completely empty. If I want to, for example, issue a deadlock, right? I found this great example from Stack Overflow, and I like it. I'm gonna use the same logic to reproduce the same thing. Let me insert this. Okay. So now I'm gonna go to session 2. And I'm gonna come back again to session 1. Okay, I'm gonna go back to session 2. There will be a deadlock occur now, right? So that's mean a deadlock occur, correct? If I query the data, I must see it as well. For today, we do have a deadlock. Give me a second, let me type. Okay, that's different. Let me, if I execute this one, right, I can see there is a deadlock occur. I have to be on master, sorry about that. This information, you can only see it on master. as you can see, today is 27. We do have a deadlock occur, right? This is the one that, yeah, just happened today. So if I want to get more insight, understand it, I can click here and try to understand it, right? But however, if I go back to my email, the system is very slow. I must get an email. Come on. Okay, so the email will trigger me anyway, but for some reason the system is very slow. However, if we go to alert, we can see, for example, if it's being triggered. Let me see one more time. I'm not sure if this is because I'm sharing my screen, but the system is very slow. Are there any questions so far, Jason? Because the system is very slow for my end.
No questions yet in the queue. And folks, if you do have any questions,
Right.
now is a good time, as I mentioned, to get them in.
Right. I think because of the slowness, I'm gonna stop here because the main thing is have them may understand the core feature of Microsoft Azure monitoring, right? And then have them ways to help them understand, for example, how can they use it for their own benefit. I think I already did that part, but the live demo was related on everything that I just mentioned. I think they get the point.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and do you have a follow-up slide at all? Or did you want to put your contact information back up as a final slide? Or?
Yes. Give me a second.
Oh, sure. And while you're doing that, I just want to thank everyone for attending here today. Lots of opportunities out there to learn about Azure, and I'm glad that you came and joined us here today. And so if you do end up with any questions, feel free to reach out to Jean and have him get back to you on what we were talking here today. So thank you again for presenting. And then thank you everyone for attending, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. And with that, I'm just going to go. All right, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
You're welcome.